ברוכים הבאים לפודקאסט של שפות-שלי, בית ספר לאנגלית ושפות נוספות. אני אריאל, I'm your host for today. מקווה שיהיה לכם שבוע יחסית שקט ורגוע. בעצם המלחמה פה בארצנו, תחילה לאט לאט ללא תילוך. מקווה שכולכם בטוחים ומנסים להישאר חזקים וחיובים. היום בנושא הזה אנחנו נדבר בעצם על הספר הקלאסי שקוראים לו The Art of War, אמנות המלחמה, סון צו, שזה בעצם אחד מהסופרים סינים הכי מפורסמים שיש, הוא שם ספר שהוא It's a Classic, אנחנו נדבר עליו היום באנגלית, כמובן עם המון אוצר מילים חדש. אם יש משהו שאתם רוצים שנעביר לכם, גם אם יש אוצר מילים או דברים שלא הבנתם, תרגישו בנוח גם ליצור איתנו קשר תמיד. כמובן אתם יכולים לראות את הפרטי קשר מתחת לפרק של הפודקאסט, או ליצור אותנו קשר גם בוואטסאפ למספר 053-550-1976. אז יאללה, בואו נתחיל עם הפרק המרתק הזה של היום, The Art of War by Sun Tzu. This ancient Chinese text, though rooted in military theory, has been applied to various fields such as business, sports, and everyday life. בעצם, אמנות הלחימה, אפשר להשתמש בזה בכל הפרמטרים בחיים שלנו, מעסקים לספורט, לחיי היומיום. Over the next half an hour or so, we'll dissect its key teachings, understand its historical context, and discuss its enduring relevance in today's world. כמה זה באמת יותר רלוונטי בחיים היום-יום שלנו היום. So, before we get into it, let's set the stage of what the art of war is about. It's believed to have been written during the Eastern Zhou period of ancient China around the 5th century BC. This was a time of fragmentation and conflict known as the Warring States period. In this chaotic era, numerous states battled for supremacy, leading to constant need for military strategy and wisdom. Enter Sun Tzu, a military strategist and philosopher. While little is definitely known about his life, his work has spoken volumes across a millennia. At its heart, the art of war is a manual on strategy, tactics, and warfare. However, its teachings often transcend the battlefield. So let's explore some of the most poignant lessons and some of the most interesting lessons that we can find from this piece of work. אני אעבור איתכם על כמה מהם היום וניכנס יותר לעומק. So number one of the first important lessons that we can learn from the art of war is know yourself and your enemy. תכירו את עצמכם ואת האויב שלכם. One of Sun Tzu's most famous quotes is, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. It's about understanding one's own strengths and weaknesses as well as those of the adversary. In a business context, for example, this might translate to understanding both your company's internal capabilities and the competitive balance. So the profound lesson from Sun Tzu's Art of War encapsulates a timeless principle that, while rooted in military strategy, has found relevance across diverse fields that lead to everyday life. So let's look at it more deeply. The know yourself. What does it mean? This principle basically involves a deep introspection and understanding of your own capabilities and strengths and weaknesses. In military context, generals and leaders would assess their own army's strengths, morale, equipment, and training. They would gauge the ability to fight prolonged battles, the logistics capabilities, and even the limits of their supply lines. כל הפרמטרים האלה, כמובן בלחימה אמיתית, יש להם השפעה משמעותית מאוד. בואו נדבר קצת בהשפעה עסקית, business context. Companies must assess their own resources, such as financial health, human capital, technological infrastructure, brand value, and more. It's crucial to identify what makes the company unique. אתם בטח שמעתם לנו מושג הזה, USP, which is a unique selling point, a unique selling proposition, as well as its limitations. And let's take a look on a personal level. What does it mean to know yourself and understand your enemy? This means understanding one's own skills, talents, weaknesses, aspirations, and limits. It's about self-awareness and recognizing what motivates us, what deters us, and how to proceed and respond to different challenges in your life. Knowing your enemy is about gathering intelligence, understanding the adversary's motives, strengths, strategies, and vulnerabilities. This might involve, in a military context, this might involve spying, reconnaissance, or even diplomatic channels to gauge an enemy's power, intentions, and strategy. In the business context, here it translates to market research, understanding competitors, products, services, marketing strategies, customer reviews, and overall brand strength. What are the competitor strengths? Where are they vulnerable? Are they planning to launch a new product? Are they facing any internal challenges? In a personal context, if you're in a competitive scenario such as sports or even a debate, it's about understanding your competitor strategy, strengths, and areas of vulnerability. Let's talk about the implications of this principle of know yourself and know your enemy. When you truly understand both yourself and your adversary, several advantages arise. Number one, informed decision-making. Decisions become data-driven based on clear understanding rather than assumptions. Number two, anticipation. It enables you to anticipate the moves of the adversary and plan countermeasures. Leverage. By understanding your own strengths and the enemy's weaknesses, you can concentrate your efforts in an area you'll have the most impact. Risk management. Knowing your own vulnerabilities and those of your adversary helps in safeguarding against potential strengths and exploiting opportunities. Let's take a look at some modern-day examples. Consider the tech giants like Apple, Google, Microsoft. Their success isn't just about innovative products, but also understanding their own strengths in depth, like Apple's design ethos or Google's search algorithm, and keeping a close eye on what competitors are doing in the market. We also have Microsoft now competing head-to-head with Google. Microsoft's AI, which is known as ChatGPT, and also Google's Bard, which is now basically going to be in the head-to-head in leading the AI technology. And also, if we think of sports teams spend countless hours studying their own past games and those of upcoming opponents. They identify patterns, strengths, tactics, and weaknesses. That helps in formulating game plans tailored to each match. זאת אומרת, מגיעים לכל משחק בספורט, מוכנים, מקימים את היריב, יודעים איפה חולשות, איפה חוזקות, ואתם מתאמים את המשחק עצמו, לכל משחק אינדיבידואלי, אסטרטגיה מתואמת. Conclusion, לסיכום בנושא about knowing your enemy and understanding yourself, know yourself and your enemy. Sun Tzu's principle of know yourself and your enemy resonates across a millennia because it taps into a fundamental truth. Success, whether on the battlefield, in the boardroom, or personal endeavors, hinges on comprehensive understanding. It's about embracing introspection while also being outwardly vigilant. This balance between self-awareness and external awareness forms the cornerstone of a strategic planning and execution in any context. Let's go to the next big points. נושא הבא, שיעור הבא נקרא לזה מהעבודה המדהימה הזאת שקוראים לזה אמנות הלחימה. Avoid strength and attack weakness. Okay. זה אומר that Sun Tzu advocates for the strategy of striking with the enemy is most vulnerable. Instead of meeting force with force, לפגש כוח עם כוח, which can be costly and exhaustive, the idea is to leverage your strength against your opponent's weaknesses. Let's understand this principle. At the core of this principle is the idea of efficiency and economy of force. Instead of squandering resources in head-on collisions with both sides bear heavy losses, the idea is to channel efforts will have the maximum impact with the least resistance. In military context, in the battlefield, this might be mean by passing a fortified enemy position to attack a supply line or striking at a poorly guarded flank. Imagine two armies, one fortified atop a hill, and the other attempting to dislodge them. A direct assault might result in heavy casualties. But finding a less defended path or cutting off the enemy supply lines could lead to victory with fewer losses. In a business context, in the corporate world, it translates to identifying market segments that big players might have overlooked or innovative areas where competitors are weak. Rather than competing directly with a giant, a startup might find a niche that's underserved. למצוא נישה מסוימת שאין לה מספיק, נקרא לזה היצע באותו רגע. On an individual level, it's about recognizing opportunities where one's unique skills or talents can shine, rather than confronting challenges head-on where the odds are stacked against success. Let's talk about the advantages of this principle. Conservation of resources. Direct confrontations can be resource-intensive, but targeting vulnerabilities, one can achieve objectives using fewer resources. Element of surprise. Attacking an opponent's weakness often comes as a surprise, making it harder for them to mount a defense or a counterattack. Psychological advantage. Striking at vulnerabilities can demoralize the opponent, weakening their resolve and making subsequent engagements easier. Momentum. Achieving quick victories by targeting weakness can help build momentum, creating a domino effect that makes launch objectives easier to attain. Let's take a look at some modern-day examples. Now, let's take a look at the high-tech industry, extremely popular in Israel, but let's take a look at a global example here. Consider how Netflix disrupted the video rental industry. Instead of competing directly with established video rental stores, They targeted a weakness, customer dissatisfaction with late fees and limited in-store stock. By offering a subscription model with a vast selection of titles delivered to the customer's door and later streaming, they capitalized on Blockbuster's vulnerabilities. ובעצם הוציא אותם מהשוק לגמרי. אם אתם זוכרים פעם בלוקבאסטר, הייתם הולכים ומזכירים סרט, לפעמים זה כן היה, לא היה, והם בעצם חיפשו את הנקודות חולשה של בלוקבאסטר, ושם הם סגרו את הפינה, ולכן משם צמח נטפליקס. Sports. In football, teams often study opponents to identify weak players or defensive gaps. Rather than always trying to bulldoze through the strongest defenders, they'll target those vulnerabilities to score. Further implications. While this principle provides a solid strategy, it's essential to be aware of potential pitfalls. One is becoming predictable. If one always targets the perceived weakest link, opponents might catch on and set traps. Overextending, in eagerness to exploit an enemy's weakness, there's a risk of overreaching and exposing one's vulnerabilities. In conclusion, Sun Tzu's avoid strength and attack weakness principle remains a pillar of strategic thinking because its emphasis on efficiency, adaptability, and element of surprise, whether in war, business, or personal challenges, recognizing and acting upon this principle can often be the difference between a hard-fought struggle and a master stroke of strategy. בוא נקווה מאוד שצה"ל מביא את זה גם, a master stroke of strategy rather than having a very hard, difficult struggle, which I'm sure with the right tactic we can avoid. And then let's go to the next one, element of surprise. This is another big lesson. Deception plays a crucial role. Sun Tzu says all warfare is based on deception. This means disguising your intentions, creating false information, or manipulating the opponent into a trap. You guys, I'm sure, are fully aware of, and already seen, unfortunately, this in real life and in the situation we are facing. So let's dissect this principle in its tactical nuances and its broader implications. Understanding this principle at the heart of the element of surprise is the human psychology of expectation. When one's expectations are subverted, there's a momentary disarray, a gap in response, and this gap can be exploited for strategic advantage. In military context, surprise attacks, feints, diversionary tactics, and ambushes all revolve around the principle of deception. By misleading the enemy and about one's true intentions or capabilities, a military force can obtain objectives with reduced resistance and often with a psychological edge. In a business context, companies often use deception in the form of surprise product launches, stealth mode operations, or even misinformation about product features to keep competitors off balance. On a personal level, it can relate to outthinking opponents in games, sports, or any competitive scenario, but being unpredictable and not telegraphing your next move. Tactical nuances of deception. One is misdirection, leading the opponent to believe you're committing to one course of action while secretly planning another. This can involve moving troops visibly in one direction while the real attack comes from another. Feints. A feint is a maneuver designed to divert the attention of the enemy by showing strength in one area. It draws attention and resources, leaving another area vulnerable. False information. Deliberately leaking incorrect details to mislead the opponent in a business context. This can involve spreading rumors about a new product that doesn't exist. Camouflage and concealment, hiding true strength or intentions in the warfare. This might be literal camouflage in business that could be downplaying the potential of a new product or service. Now, let's talk about the implications and benefits of using deception. Okay, psychological impact. A successfully executed surprise can demoralize and disorientate the opponent and making them more susceptible to further tactics. Conservation of resources. Achieving objectives through deception often requires fewer resources than a direct confrontation. And number 3 is achieving momentum. Surprise can lead to rapid gains, creating momentum, placing the adversary in a reactive position instead of on the attack. Let's take a look at some modern-day examples. Kick off with the business world. Apple's surprise product announcements have often caught competitors off guard, giving Apple a head start in the marketing position and also in the market in general. It puts their product in high demand. Sports. Boxers often use feints to deceive their opponents, making them anticipate a punch from one direction and then striking a decisive blow from another. Cybersecurity. Honeypots are systems set up to lure cyber attackers. They appear as easy targets, but in reality, they monitor and gather information about the attacker. This is known as the honeypot in cybersecurity. Let's talk about potential pitfalls of using this strategy, the element of surprise. There are a couple, and I want to go through them because they're important to understand as well. So over-reliance on deception, becoming over-reliant on the surprise element or deception can lead to complications, especially if opponents begin to anticipate the deceptive tactics, and therefore they understand that you're going to surprise, therefore your element of surprise is gone. 2, ethical concerns. This is particularly true in business. There's a fine line between strategic deception and an ethical behavior. Misleading stakeholders can have long-term reputational consequences. To conclude, deception, as highlighted by Sun Tzu, isn't just about misleading an adversary, but it is a comprehensive approach to strategy that involves understanding the psychology of the opponent, creating and exploiting opportunities, and continuously adapting. Whether on the battlefield, in the corporate boardroom, or in individual pursuits, mastering the element of surprise can yield disproportionate advantages. All right, let's take a look at the next one, flexibility in strategy. This is a big principle in Sun Tzu's book. It's adapting to changing circumstances, and this is key. Rigid plans can lead to downfall. As circumstances change, strategies should too. I think this is one of the benefits of the Israeli army, that commanders in the field can actually make decisions and therefore can execute. The strategy can become flexible as soon as situations develop. On the other hand, this is what the Russian army has been faced in Ukraine, where they weren't that flexible. I mean, all orders were passed up to high command, and therefore the commanders in the field couldn't adjust the fighting strategy according to the real conditions they saw in front of them, and therefore this led to the downfall. In Sun Tzu's book, he emphasizes on flexibility in strategy. There is a fundamental truth in any dynamic environment. Change is the only constant. In the art of war, this principle underscores the value of adaptability and the dangers of being rigid. Let's probe deeper into this principle, its significance, and its multifaceted applications. So let's understand this principle in the ever-shifting landscape of warfare, or indeed any competitive arena. Clinging to a fixed plan in the face of new information or changing circumstances can spell disaster. To be flexible in strategy means to be open to change, to respond dynamically to the environment, and to pivot when necessary. In military context, the battlefield conditions can change rapidly, influenced by factors ranging from weather to unexpected enemy maneuvers to general challenges like dwindling supplies. A general who refuses to adapt to these changes, clinging instead to a predetermined strategy, may find its forces outmaneuvered, outmatched, or trapped. In the business context, in a market driven by innovation, consumer preferences, regulations, and competition, businesses need to remain agile. Those that can't pivot in response to market shifts can quickly become obsolete. Think of Kodak's slow response to the rise of digital photography, or BlackBerry's initial dismissal of touch-screen smartphones. זה היו טעויות שבעצם קבעו את העסקים הללו. On a personal level, flexibility in strategy is about life adaptation. It means reassessing goals, methodologies, or even values in light of new information or changed circumstances. You've got to fight for your values, fight to make a change. The benefits of flexibility. So obviously resilience, adaptive entities, be the armies, businesses, or individuals, are more resilient in the face of challenges. They can weather storms by shifting strategies, relocating resources, or even transforming their core operations. Exploiting opportunities. A flexible strategist can quickly capitalize on unexpected opportunities, and businesses might be jumping into a new market segment that suddenly emerges in war and might be exploiting a sudden weakness in enemy lines. Next point is to mitigating risks. Adaptable entities can more efficiently navigate around potential pitfalls or dangers, adjusting their approach based on emerging threats. And the last one is to stay relevant. In an evolving landscape, adaptability ensures continued resilience and relevance, and businesses that evolve with customer needs continue to thrive, while those that don't, they fade away and disappear into the night. Modern day examples, the tech world, companies like Netflix showcase strategic flexibility. Initially a DVD rental service, they pivoted to streaming as technology and consumer preferences evolved, and later into content creation, foreseeing shifts in the entertainment industry, and they are facing the wall again. It'll be interesting to see if they can maintain their flexible strategies that they implemented to take Blockbuster out of business. Sports, in coaches and players often adjust their strategies mid-game based on the opponent's actions. They're changing football team formations to counter strategies employed by the opposing team. Let's talk about the challenges and caveats. Over-adaptation, there's a risk of becoming too reactive, constantly shifting with the winds and losing sight of core objective or values. Another chisaron is resource strain. Constantly pivoting or changing strategies can strain resources, be it time, money, or even morale. And decision paralysis. While flexibility is vital, it's essential not to fall into a trap of indecision where the entity becomes so open to change that it fails to commit to a clear course of action. In conclusion, flexibility in strategy, as Sun Tzu eloquently conveys, is about harmonizing with the ever-evolving nature of reality. It's a dance of balance where entities must walk the line between core conviction and adaptive fluidity. In a world defined by change, the capacity to evolve, assess, and pivot becomes not just an asset, but a necessary tool for survival and success. Next point I want to discuss today from the book, another lesson learned, is moral influence and leadership. Manigut. I think this is something that everyone in Israel will agree that we lack from our government. Serious form of absolute resolve and leadership, which is very important. That's accepted by the whole nation. Doesn't matter which side of the political map you are. And that is an important, it's one of the most fundamental secrets to winning any sort of battle, is to have a unified approach. Sun Tzu places great emphasis on the moral alignment of troops and the importance of strong leadership. A leader should be wise, sincere, humane, courageous, and strict. Sun Tzu's insight on leadership transcend time and remain relevant to this day. Recognizing that the success of any campaign largely depends on the spirit, morale, alignment of the troops, and the caliber of the leadership. He delves deeper into the ethical and psychological aspects of command. Let's explore this principle in depth and understand its intricacies and modern applications. So let's understand the principle of moral influence and leadership. Moral influence, as described by Sun Tzu, relates to the harmony, spirit, and cohesion within an army or any organized group. When the group is morally aligned, they're more committed, more unified in purpose, and more resilient in the face of adversity. A leader, therefore, has a pivotal role in shaping this moral fabric. Leadership isn't about tactical acumen. It encompasses the ability to inspire, to instill values, and to lead by example. Military context. In war, morale can often be a deciding factor. Troops that are committed to the cause, trust the leaders, and believe in the righteousness of the mission are likely to fight more fiercely, persevere through hardships, and maintain discipline in the face of temptations or provocations. Business context. In corporate settings, leadership sets the cultural tone of an organization. Employees who believe in the company's mission, trust their leaders, and feel valued are more engaged, loyal, and productive. In a personal context, even in personal relationships and small group dynamics, the principle holds. The moral alignment of family members, friends, or teammates around shared values and objectives strengthens bonds and facilitates collective success. Let's talk about the 5 pillars of leadership. Manigut. First one is wisdom. A wise leader possesses a deep understanding of their environment, their adversaries, their own people, and themselves. This wisdom informs their decisions, ensuring they're not just reactive, but also proactive and strategic. Sincerity. Authenticity and sincerity foster trust. When followers believe that their leader is genuine and acts with integrity, they're more likely to be loyal and committed. Humaneness, compassion, and empathy from the bedrock of strong interpersonal relationships. A leader who cares about the well-being of their people can inspire deep loyalty and foster a supportive, collaborative environment. Courage. Leaders often need to make difficult decisions, face adversity head-on, or take risks. Courage ensures that they don't shy away from these challenges and by facing them, inspire their followers. Strictness. While compassion is crucial, so is discipline. Leaders must ensure that rules are followed, that standards are maintained, and that there are consequences for misconduct. This isn't about being harsh, but about ensuring fairness and consistency. Let's take a look at some modern-day examples. Business leaders and visionaries like Steve Jobs and Elon Musk demonstrate a mix of these qualities. Jobs, with his uncompromising pursuit of perfection, showcase both strictness and wisdom. Musk, with his audacious goals for SpaceX and Tesla, exemplifies courage. In sports, successful coaches like Sir Alex Ferguson of Manchester United or Phil Jackson of the Chicago Bulls and LA Lakers often embody these leadership qualities, guiding their teams to victory through a mix of discipline, strategy, and interpersonal skills. Let's talk about implications and challenges of moral influence and leadership. Number one, it's a balancing act. The challenge for leaders to find the right balance between these qualities. Being too strict might alienate followers, while excessive leniency might lead to laxity in discipline. Next is the evolution of leadership. As situations evolve, leaders may need to emphasize different aspects of the leadership. A crisis might call for more courage and strictness, or a post-crisis rebuilding might demand more humaneness and wisdom. Consistency. While adaptability is essential, leaders must also maintain a core consistency in values, behavior to remain credible. In conclusion, on leadership, Sun Tzu's emphasis on moral influence and leadership underscores the profound psychological and ethical dimensions of leading. In any endeavor, be it war, business, or personal pursuits, the harmony of the group and the qualities of its leader often determine the outcome. Leadership, as articulated by Sun Tzu, is both an art and a responsibility, demanding a blend of wisdom, character, and adaptability. Let's talk about the last point, the last big lesson from Sun Tzu's book, The Art of War, that I want to discuss today. This is the terrain and environment. Understanding the lay of the land and using it to one's advantage is critical. This includes recognizing and leveraging different types of ground, like dispersive ground, facile ground, contentious ground, and others. Recognizing that the physical environment can be as much as an ally as a weapon or a strategy. Sun Tzu dedicates an entire section to its nuances. I'm going to unpack this principle, elucidating the various types of ground he mentions and interpreting its significance across different contexts. Terrain and environment in the context of military strategy refer to the physical attributes of the battlefield, as well as the broader circumstances that may influence combat operations. Sun Tzu identified that leveraging terrain effectively can multiply the impact of one's forces, offer protection, and create opportunities to outmaneuver the enemy. In a military context, terrain dictates troop movements, line of sight, defensibility, and supply lines. Marshes, mountains, valleys, rivers, and plains each bring a unique challenges and opportunities. A tactically advantageous position like high ground can drastically improve the prospects of victory. To think of the terrain in the business as a marketplace landscape, this encompasses factors like regulatory environment, competitive dynamics, consumer behavior, and the technological infrastructure. All right, let's talk about the final section of this podcast. Today, I'm going to sum up a little bit about the application beyond the battlefield. So why has this military amazing book and treatise remained so popular in modern times, especially, not only in, let's say, military aspects, but also in non-military domains? Well, warfare at its core is about strategy, and strategy is universal. Whether it's businesses trying to gain a competitive edge, an athlete aiming to outwit the opponent, or an individual navigating the complexities of daily life, היומיום שלכם, the principle of strategy apply. For instance, consider the business world. Companies are often faced in fierce competition, vying for market share. The principles from Art of War can guide leadership and understanding competition, leveraging strengths, being adaptable, and deploying deception like a surprise product launch. Similarly, in personal life, understanding one's strengths and weaknesses, being adaptable, and having a strong moral compass are all keys to navigating challenges. As we wrap up, it's evident that teachers of the art of war go beyond military tactics. The ancient texts provide us with a profound insight into human nature and the strategies we employ in confrontations, both big and small. It emphasizes introspection, adaptability, understanding, and strategy principles that are timeless and will always be relevant no matter what day and age you live in. As Sun Tzu said, in a war, it's to avoid what is strong and to strike at what is weak. Whether you're a general, a CEO, an athlete, or just someone looking to navigate life challenges, this wisdom holds true. So, אני רוצה להגיד לכם תודה רבה for listening to today's episode about the art of war, אמנות הלחימה. אני מאחל לכולנו שיהיה למדינת ישראל ניצחון מוחץ בקרוב, ואני בטוח שיהיה. And we'll look forward to better times, זמנים טובים יותר לכולנו, ושנמשיך תמיד לשמוע, לצמוח, ללמוד, להצליח, להגשים חלומות, ולהקים את המדינה, להמשיך את המדינה הכי יפה בעולם. אני אריאל. Thank you for listening to me today. כמובן, אנחנו כאן זמנים, אם תרצו פרטים לגבי לימודי אנגלית, הקורסים שלנו לדבר עם הצוות המדהים שלנו כאן, תיצרו איתנו קשר. We're here to help and obviously take your English learning to the next level. Wishing you guys a successful week for all of us and a peaceful week. And I will see you again next week. Bye-bye.